But yeah, looking forward to that and doing something like this. But also love to get into the background of this. So I'm welcome to
Maybe this is somebody that's.
I think she's re-recording it. All of our meetings are on YouTube.
Okay.
I don't see coverage.
I didn't know that.
Alright, we're going to get started in about 2 minutes, so if you can grab your seat. 2 more minutes. You guys are good. Welcome everyone to the Fullerton Collaborative. I'm Deborah Stout. I'm the Executive Director of the Collaborative, and I'm glad that you were able to join me today. We are streaming live, so everybody, hi our YouTube fans. So we will go ahead and get started because we do have a full packed agenda with some amazing content and some discussion that we are going to be having. So I want to welcome our fabulous Mayor Nicholas Dunlap to this day. He's going to come and he's going to just do his great introduction. So.
Thank you. So I think we've got a couple of videos we're going to be showing today. So I don't know who am I looking at for the audio video nods? Is that okay? Great, awesome. So I guess the first video is kind of the introduction to the event, and our State of the City that we held last week was really the theme is Foundation of the Future, Uniting the Past and Present for a Thriving City. And so you'll see, I think, as we watch this video, it's really great because it ties together a number of different pieces of our history here, and that kind of leads as the kind of the entree into the program. So we'll start there.
Today, Western Citrus brings both health and fun, all wrapped up by nature herself in the soft but strong packages which preserve the freshness and health-giving elements of oranges, lemons, and grapefruit until they reach our homes.
Another brand talks about pineapple vinegar, but it uses less tomatoes than us. Imagine how a tomato feels, but on cactus is the cactus with the real tomato taste. Yeah.
Our ground systems group is based in Fullerton. After developing a very successful line of radar devices, Ground Systems has gone on to develop complete packages of radar, including signal processors, displays, and command control communications equipment. These systems serve the air defense needs of entire nations.
Hey, how about a nice Hawaiian punch? Sure.
All right. Thank you. So with that, wanted to welcome everybody and say thank you for having me here today. This is my first time coming to one of the collaborative meetings, so I'm very grateful to be here. So again, the theme that we noted for the for the program was Foundation of the Future, and I think it's really special to me because my background in Fullerton is such that my grandfather was a geologist and he worked for the LA Department of Water and Power. And so because of that, he moved the family around a lot. And they went from Pasadena to Bakersfield to Santa Monica to La Mirada. And when he finally settled in Fullerton, he knew that it was home. And because of that, my dad had the opportunity to raise a family here. My mom and dad had an opportunity to raise a family here. But 4 kids. And then my dad built a business here. And as part of that, we all grew up in this community, going to schools here, participating in the different youth sports programs and such. So I've had the opportunity to meet so many great people over the years through any number of sport and community groups. But I think Fullerton, really growing up in Fullerton, shaped me in part because it was really impressed upon me from a young age just how lucky we are to be in a place where we have great historical buildings and this historical landscape. But yet we also have so much going for us in terms of like modern amenities, right? And I go back to a moment I had in 1995. I think as some of you folks may know, downtown then is not what it is today, right? Today we see a kind of a bustling, thriving downtown, but in 1995, vacancy factors were high, and there were a lot of people that really wondered what direction the city was going to head, because of course office and retail vacancy, it was significantly higher. There's a lot of blight. And not only that, but some of these older buildings had not yet had seismic retrofits and things of that nature. And so at that time, family business for me was real estate investment, property management. And, my dad and his partners happened to acquire the Villa del Sol building that at the time was not only in foreclosure, but had been red tagged and was going to be demolished because the prior owners had not completed the seismic retrofit. So anyway, they were to complete that retrofit, but then re-tenant the property in sort of a challenging landscape at the time. But I think like any son or daughter of a business owner knows, when you work for your parents, you immediately go to work for them at a young age, and not only that, but you get to do the grunt work. And so that meant working with a lot of the construction crews that were helping to do some of the tenant improvements on the property. And if you're familiar with the site today, the location that now houses where Cafe Hidalgo restaurant is. At the time, it was vacant, it was being prepared, and I got to basically dig the trenches for the new footings for the tile. And in the process of doing that, we routinely find, horseshoes and things of that nature. And it was great because we learned later that in the 1970s, the front of the building had been added, but prior to that, it was just this sort of open U-shaped courtyard that opened to Harbor Boulevard. You actually see poles where, where horses would be tied up. And so kind of fast forward through that process. And then of course, there was a huge event once the building was kind of reopened with all of the new tenants. And that just really impressed upon me the importance of our community and the significance of the things that can happen when people come together and are working together, both from the public and private sector. So that kind of shaped my, my foundation in the city here, if you will, because of course I also got to be the guy that, would go with his dad to the council meetings and things like that because he didn't want to go by himself. And hey, you come and take notes or talk and things like that. So, but anyway, prior to serving on council, I had also had the opportunity to serve as a planning commissioner. And that's kind of really what propelled me to run for office. I really have no interest in politics still to this day, and really just see this role at council, and I think the importance of what we do at council, not as any kind of political role, it's as serving the community, because that's truly what it is. And so I think it's really important that regardless of political beliefs and affiliations, like we remember that at the council, potholes have no political party preference, right? It's all about it's all about serving residents, listening to concerns, and trying to fix problems. And so, who better to do that than somebody who I think grew up here and loves the city. But I say all this because I feel that our city has kind of been challenged over time by people who don't necessarily see what our city has to offer. And as a dad who is raising two kids here in the community as well, a fourth generation here in Fullerton, I really see the need for us to think big, and for us to think kind of outside of the box of what's been prepared or presented to us, as we look at the number of different things that we are faced with dealing with. Obviously, economic development is key. Fixing our crumbling infrastructure is absolutely a top priority. But also making sure that we are continuing to do things like build and allow for housing to be built. All of these things that I think we're finally on a path towards, progress as a city. Some of it is slow. And of course, I was trying to use the comparison. I was explaining to somebody the other day that, it's almost like, think city and kind of the public interface in some regards is like dog years. It's like in the private sector, you want to do something, you have an idea, you underwrite it, you fund it, you've got the budget for it, you go do it. And you try to do that in the city too, except for the fact that it takes, 3 to 5 times longer, simply because there's public agency interface and other things required at times. So it is nice to see that there is in fact some progress taking place. It's just a little slower than usual. But I want to first get into, what I'd like to do today, I'm going to go through kind of an abbreviated presentation of the State of the City program, but I really want to make sure, because I think the most important thing for me here is that obviously, being with new people, would love to hear any thoughts or ideas or answer any questions that you have. So I really want to make sure that we get to that, point as well. So let me just skip ahead here. All right, so going around the city, we have, of course, starting in District 1, the northwest portion of the city is our Mayor Pro Tem, Fred Jung. And I try to go easy on Fred because he's a Trojan, and it's been really difficult for him the past 3 Novembers. But I had to get that knock in wherever I can. But I will say one thing our Mayor Pro Tem has done quite well is establishing a new key economic relationship with Songnam City out of Korea. And you might have seen on North Harbor Boulevard, there is it's what's known as the Songnam Business Center. I think the important thing to note, Songnam City in Korea is the equivalent to like the Silicon Valley of Korea. And so there's a big emphasis on sort of biotech, health, and other technology. And what's happened with the Songnam Business Center is the Korean government has actually invested millions of dollars in this facility and in facilitating, kind of a trade program with the city, if you will, where not only are these groups coming over to debut products and kind of offer them for sale, but the idea is that once they, become established and kind of make it here in the United States, that they'll set up, their permanent offices and headquarters here in the city of Fullerton as well, which will of course lead to additional tax revenue for the city, aside from jobs and that sort of thing. So that's a very exciting, I think, from an economic development perspective, especially as we're trying to be a little more creative and proactive there as a city. So as I mentioned, District 1, that's the northwest portion of the city, often referred to as Sunny Hills. And there are some planned improvements in that district. On the public side, we're working on Emory Park, which we actually just held our Arbor Day program over the past weekend. So there's going to be some improvements planned at the park. And also the Sunrise Village project that was approved year before last is actually soon to be under construction. So that's exciting as well. Now, District 3, which is our east side, is represented by Councilwoman Shana Charles, and Dr. Charles is a fellow UCLA Bruin, and she's the newest addition to our council. So there you go Bruins, right? Councilmember Charles is a mental health advocate, and she's been really active outside of council meetings, being able to go to a number of different commission and committee meetings, and community is really a big driver for her. And she's been quite active and supportive with some of the more recent initiatives with things like parks, trails, and bicycle connectivity, in particular as it relates to Cal State Fullerton. So some of the improvements that are underway in District 3, which is really like the east side of the city, it includes the repaving of Associated Road, the approval of assorted cyclist protections in the area surrounding Cal State Fullerton. There's been some bathroom and community center repairs at Chapman Park, which I know is greatly appreciated by any Eastside Fullerton Little League parents that are here. And then of course, there's also the hub construction project, or the hub development project. That's a purpose-built student housing project, basically at Chapman and Commonwealth, right near Cal State Fullerton. So District 5, that's sort of the southeast to, I guess you could say downtown portion of the city, is represented by Councilmember Ahmad Zara. And Councilmember Zara has been an advocate for the arts and has helped to raise money for restoration of the historic murals on Lemon. I think the councilman has been a voice and given a voice to members of our community who have not long been spoken up for the issues that they face. And I can say that we now hear them loud and clear at City Hall. So some of the key improvements in District 5 include the Walk on Wilshire Promenades updates, the reopening and reprogramming of Union Pacific Park, the approval and acceptance of the state grant to create Union Pacific Trail, and there's also some plans underway to improve Independence Park as well. So there's a lot going on there. Of course, lastly, we have in District 4, Councilmember Bruce Whitaker. So this is the southwest portion of the city. And I think it's interesting to note Councilmember Whitaker is in his 14th year serving the city of Fullerton. And I did place the districts out of order today because I like to give a nod to Bruce. He's kind of our Cal Ripken or Iron Man, if you will. He's again served the city for 14 years. He's really been an advocate for rate and taxpayers over the years, both for city matters on council and then serving on a number of non-elected bodies through council but off council. And I'd ask that we recognize him and his efforts, maybe with a round of applause, because 14 years is a lot of time, and he's done our city well. So with that, we're going to roll a video now on, this is a community video.
What about your district?
District, well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
I think we're gonna keep growing, and the city is there for us. They wanna help us grow, employ more people, and bring more sales tax to the city.
Fullerton supported us as a business, and it's great to see that.
I think it'd be fun to see more women business owners down here. I think that would be really cool too. We can be an example that women mothers, I think that's even more difficult for kids and doing the business. Hopefully we are the foundation and the future.
Today's Happy Jewelers, Bootleggers Brewery, Papa Cupcakes can all be proud to stand on the shoulders of the giants before them. Defender Guitars, Hughes Aircraft, Hawaiian Punch, who came forward and really set the bar high.
Fullerton has soul. It is important for us as fiduciaries of that soul to ensure that it continues for generations to come. That the education base that we have here, the economic base that we have here, the security and safety that we provide our residents continues long after we're gone.
Goodman and pretty much every other developer working in the city right now is building these for the long term. Redesign it in a different way to really investing. I mean, you're standing on full concrete, you're not going to see any asphalt on this property. It costs a lot more to do this, but it's just a sign of like, hey, this is a commitment from the owner to be here long term.
Fullerton is really down to earth. It's not trying to be anything more than what it is. And with that, there's an element of just humbleness and everyday people here that I really admire and respect.
Love the city, and I love how we come together to try to make it better.
It's a great place to raise family. You can't beat it.
Most important thing was that I raised 4 kids in this city, and they've all gone on, done well, and are just incredibly good people. It's been a good place to live.
I think everybody should choose Fullerton.
This is the heart of Orange County.
I think there's just a great community in Fullerton. They're very embracing of local businesses.
Come hang out with me and my family and some of my friends on the weekend. Come to our Little League game and just see how much fun, see how awesome all the families that live here, and you'll see why.
We're surrounded by history, memories of yesteryear, anchored by old buildings, familiar faces, local institutions. Our rich history and culture is unparalleled. Not just the past, it's who we are and where we are, the foundation for the future. Come be a part of it.
That was a new edit of that video too. Shout out to Todd Huffman, because I know he did the audio video for the program. So I think the next thing is, so people had asked about, hey, District Number 2 and what's going on in District 2, which is essentially the center of the city. Couple things, but I do want to make sure, because I think really the importance, I think, of this role in this city is that we're not just serving districts, we're serving the entire city. And what happens in District 1 is not necessarily because the Mayor Pro Tem is doing that, or because another council member is doing that in their district. Because collectively we've been able to work with city staff to identify and prioritize these tasks and projects. Thus there are individual initiatives and things of that nature. But having said that, I think we will get to some of the stuff from District 2 momentarily. But I think one of the big focuses for me, and really something that I'm trying to place great emphasis on, is that I think for too long we have overlooked Fullerton greats, whether that is sports figures, members of our business community, or other celebrities, like we've seen last week with when we were able to recognize Mike Ness, by presenting the key to the city. Part of, I think one thing that was really great to me is in talking to Mike leading up to the program, I'd asked him if there were any special Fullerton people that he thought should be present at this program. And he said, I had a teacher for introduction to guitar at Ladera Vista, Mrs. Cooper, he said, she taught me everything I needed to know, because in 3 years, I went from playing Michael Rows the Boat to writing songs. And of course, to this day, he's sold over 5 million records. And, so we reached out, we actually found, thanks to social media, actually, and the school board member here, we were able to find Mrs. Cooper. And it was so funny, I sent her a note, and about 24 hours later, my phone rings, and it's a number in Oklahoma. And the lady says, yeah, is this the mayor of Fullerton? I'm trying to find who, somebody had reached out to me about a former student. Can you tell me who that is? I said, well, the student's Mike Ness. And she said, oh, I remember Mike. What did he do? And so I said, well, we're going to be giving him the key to the city because he's, because of his contributions to the world of music, really through the band. But it was just so great. And although she wasn't able to be at the program, I was able to put her and Mike in touch, and he was really thrilled to be able to have the opportunity to connect with her again. And the fact, not only it's funny, she not only mentioned that, hey, I remember Mike, but I've got pictures of him in scrapbooks in the garage. So I thought that was really cool. But not only that, it was to hear the stories about him growing up in Fullerton and just how the impact Fullerton had on him growing up. And what we find is that's not uncommon across any number of fields or any number of people, right? We were able to recognize Michael Lorenzen, who is now pitching for the Texas Rangers, and aside from playing baseball at Fullerton High School and playing, of course, for the Cal State Fullerton Titans, happened to throw a no-hitter last year while pitching for the Phillies. And the great thing is he comes to a council meeting that was packed with kids from East Fullerton, Golden Hill, Troy, and Fullerton baseball, all the way up to Cal State Fullerton. He basically said at the meeting, listen, I'll sign autographs and take pictures with anybody that wants one after. And I happened to go grab a bottle of water, about 2 hours into the meeting, only to find out that he was still out there signing autographs and taking pictures with kids. So it was just really great to see, kind of these special moments, right, where we're able to bring this back home and recognize these Fullerton greats with our community. It's very special. But along those lines, I also wanted to make a plug, because I know there are many local history fanatics, such as myself, in this room. There's also a new book you should check out. It's let's see, it kind of highlights some of the Fullerton baseball history, which is Spring Training in Fullerton. That was written by local author and historian David Jerome. It highlights baseball in Fullerton from 1935 to 1963, because at that time there were actually 8 baseball teams that used Amherst Park as a training facility for spring training. So it's a very exciting read. I would encourage you all to read it. And I think the best part is he's donating any and all proceeds from the book to local Little Leagues as well. So it's a great opportunity not only to learn a little bit about our history, but also to support the local Little Leagues as well. But so community, I think, is very big in that sense. And so if there's somebody that you think should be recognized or perhaps hasn't been recognized by our city over time, definitely reach out to me, and I'm happy to have a conversation with you about that, to see what we can do to honor, the legacy of great Fullertonians. So next up, we talked a little bit about park improvements. Obviously, this is a big one. Lions Field, which is one of our most utilized parks in the entire park system. We're going to be installing new artificial turf for the first time in 20 years. For those who use the field routinely, you know that it's very much needed and is very much appreciated by Fullerton Hills Softball, who has over 450 girls that are using that field, this season. Now, we also recently completed a renovation of Acacia Park, and that was really interesting because we were able to get good feedback both from neighbors, the community. And it went through really a collaborative process with city staff where ultimately everybody kind of worked together to get park equipment that they were really excited about. And we think that's going to be, that's kind of the sleeper. I mean, that was always like our park growing up. That's where my brother and I walked. That was like our shortcut to school and stuff. So it's kind of nice because we have like 4 generations that tie to that park, but we definitely encourage you all to check it out. So the other one, I think it kind of coincides with the fact that it's the hottest growing sport in the United States, is that when people usually ask me about 2 or 3 things to be on council. First is typically road and street repairs, and the next one is, hey, why do I have to go to La Habra to play pickleball? And so I'm not joking either, that's true. But basically, and the Fullerton Community Center doesn't count because they're indoors. So, but we do have pickleball courts are planned for the renovated UP Park that's going to be coming up. And also the driving range that's up on Harbor. We're currently working through I believe it's the Army Corps of Engineers, because they're going to be installing a number of different courts up there. So we're excited about that, and people will no longer have to drive to La Habra for pickleball. It's on Harbor. So it's just up, like there's a driving range like midway up Harbor. Like if you pass the Sizzler there on the left, and then you just go a little further up. That's right. It's below the. That's right, yeah, exactly. So now I think one thing that's interesting to note as well, we're going to kind of shift gears and get back towards sort of the I think really kind of the innovative government stuff that we're talking about now. But and yes, those 2 words can go together. But no, so interesting to note. The city of Fullerton currently now offers over 92% of all permits that you'll need in the course of opening a business, in the course of building or developing a property, adding an ADU, things of this nature. Over 92% of the permits that you will need are available online. And so I've challenged the city to get 100% of those permits online by the end of the year. So we'll see if we can meet that number. But I think the exciting thing to note is this is actually more than Anaheim and Irvine offer. And so that's helping us to kind of cut some of the red tape and speed things up with respect to the processes that people face in terms of trying to improve their properties or get businesses open here in Fullerton. Also along those lines, we've launched a pop-up city hall program, because what we hear sometimes at council meetings is that people have a difficulty making it to city hall during business hours to get things done, or they have questions or concerns and they don't really know where to start in terms of kind of navigating some of these processes. And so this pop-up city hall program is held every other month. The next one will actually be on Saturday in conjunction with the Hunt Ranch Library reopening. Basically what this does is it takes economic development, public works, the police department, the fire department, library was there, Parks and Rec. So basically you could go and you can ask any of these folks the questions that you have about these kind of city processes and help to get the ball rolling. To answer any questions that you might have. And we found that, kind of bringing everybody together to provide additional resources to folks is kind of the right way to approach things. So we've also, one thing to note, I think, this council over the past 3 years has worked to put more money to roads and streets than any prior council in the past 2 decades. In part, that is due to savings generated through some of the prior budget cycles, and in part that's due to federal funding and also grant funding that we've been able to access. And I point that out not to, obviously not to kind of self-congratulate or pat ourselves on the back, because for any of you who drove here like I did, you notice there's still a lot of work to do. But I think the important thing to note is that obviously we are here, we live here, we drive the roads, we experience the same things, and it's a priority. So, we're continuing to work on that. And I believe the metric I heard recently was that the prior measures were they averaged about 2.2 miles of repairs per year, and that's north of 5.5 to 6 miles per year at this point. So again, it's a little bit of progress there. Also along those lines, the city had recently completed a study with a company named Noresco, and Noresco's function is really, they go out and kind of prepare like an energy analysis across any number of buildings, systems, and structures across the city, and then present to us opportunities to save money by introducing or implementing energy efficiency savings. And what we realized is that by making these improvements, the city is going to be able to generate about $12 million in savings. And so that's currently underway. That was the first phase of the process. And so we're actually in the second phase of that. We're now going out with respect to some of the series lighting issues that are really across the city, but basically where there are, kind of essentially lighting systems that have failed, that it's really Edison's responsibility to repair, but they're saying, hey, it's too costly for us to repair, so the city's trying to work on these functions. But we think there's going to be an opportunity here to utilize an LED type device that's not only going to be less costly to repair, but it's an LED solar device, so the retrofit will be easier, and it's not going to require like a full replacement or renovation, which will be budget friendly from that standpoint. So that's kind of included in the second phase of this process that we're working on right now. But in total, that actually amounted to I think with respect to the city's investment in that, it generated about a 6% return on savings, or return on investment, excuse me. So just a few other things here before we get to Q&A. I wanted to also hit on, one of the things that we've talked about a lot as a city is figuring out how we can sort of cultivate this hub of innovation, where, mostly I think surrounding cutting red tape and trying to help, shrink the time frame between ideas and people actually getting open and getting in business, but also trying to figure out where we can kind of be on the forefront of that as a city. And one of the areas that was notified was the airport. And so we're now in the process of exploring some of these ideas with respect to like last mile transport and such, that will allow for, Fullerton to perhaps become more of a hub. And as a result of that, we're out actually trying to talk to some, different foundations to secure grant funding to explore and potentially modernize the terminal there at the airport. So we think that's exciting. We think that with future of air travel, that there's going to be some opportunities there as well. Now, one thing I want to note here, and I know we've got a couple folks from the school board here, so I definitely want to highlight this project for, I think, the remainder of the audience, because this is not something that's city funded, but something that I'm very excited about. The kids at Nicholas Junior High in the woodshop class are in the process of building a tiny home. And basically over the past year, some 8th graders in the woodshop class have had the opportunity to work, kind of during and after school on a tiny home that will, once completed, be placed onto school district property. And so they've got places for, I think, 2 of these tiny homes. And then fundraising for this program has been almost entirely facilitated by, I think the Education Foundation, the school district, and then a couple of other grants and other nonprofits. But it's not something that the city has contributed to. And I think it's important to note this, obviously, with a broader audience, because we need to continue to support programs like this to make sure that they get the funding that they need so that they can sustain. Because, of course, they do have another project that they're going to be building next year, and they're not only going to need the funding, but because they've got some place to place it. But the great part about it is they're going to be able to house, district families who are in need for up to 6 months at a time. So that'll allow those district families then to save money, to get some resources together so that they can get back out on their own 2 feet, and then we can help another family. So I I think that's really innovative, and I think it's great to teach these kids not only the importance of like working with tools and working with their hands, which is great to get in a wood shop class and see that still happening, but also to kind of help them understand big picture. It teaches them so much about everything from, I think, real estate and land use planning to also budgeting and understanding the importance of personal finance to then, of course, at the end of the day, seeing this big picture impact of, hey, what can happen with, this opportunity that we're giving folks, the 6 months to get back on their own 2 feet. So that's very exciting as well. And the kids are doing a great job. And I think it's May 7th, we're actually going to have kids from, Parks Junior High and also Nicholas are going to be in to talk about the program as a study session. So would encourage you all to visit the council meeting at that point, because it's going to be, I think, very exciting. But so it's also really exciting and really encouraging to see the kids involved with the program and, to get out and talk to them about what it means to them and how they feel about it. It's really quite touching. Let's see. So next item up, I wanted to talk about, we talked a little bit about economic development, but what does that mean? And I think it's really exciting and also encouraging, not just for me as a council member and a Fullerton resident, but I think for others in the business community. Right now, there are over $1 billion in industrial projects under construction between and across varying sites. There's about $500 million in current residential and retail projects underway across various sites. So over $1.5 billion in current projects underway in our city. That's private money being invested in our city by people who want to be here, who want to work here, who want to own here and operate here long term. And that's again, I think that's exciting, and that's a testament to kind of this turnaround that we're starting to see, where Fullerton in the past kind of shot itself in the foot with respect to trying to attract and retain quality businesses and to get people to want to do projects in our city. So I think this is all very good, and this kind of ties in with more of the proactive approach that we're trying to take with respect to surplus land and some of these other opportunities that are now on the horizon. Rather than be reactive, the city's going to take more of a proactive approach and not only get out to solicit community feedback on these things or these properties, because that will help them ultimately, I think, educate some of the developers that come in on what can be built, what the community wants to see, so we can hopefully mesh those together and really get projects that the community really wants to see and wants to do business with for years to come. So that's kind of the end of my program there, but I do want to say, if I could kind of recycle something that I said in the program last week. I think it's really important for us to think of Fullerton not as, districts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I think it's really important for us to think of Fullerton, whether you live, in the Gem Streets or the College Streets, whether you live in Sunny Hills or Raymond Hills, whether you live in the Woodcrest neighborhood or whether you live in Princeton Circle. It's important to think about Fullerton as one Fullerton and to really figure out how we can come together as a community, to better advocate for our needs and so that we can advocate for the Fullerton that we want to see for years to come. So, thank you. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys might have. And I also have a notepad here so I can take notes if there's anything, any great ideas as well. Please.
How's the attendance going at the city council meetings?
How is attendance?
How's the attendance going?
I'd say it's probably, I guess it depends on the issue. But typically 40 is, I think 40 seems kind of like a accurate ballpark number, I'd say, on average, depending on the issues. I've seen more, I've seen less, but I'd say it's probably give or take 40 people. Yeah.
Can you repeat the organization that's doing the pickleball court?
Oh yeah. Well, no. So it's the so there's going to be the city is doing the pickleball court that'll be at the Union Pacific Park, and then on Harbor Boulevard there is the driving range, and so the city is actually helping to facilitate that. But as part of that, it's really complicated because there's land leases and other things in place, but we have to get the approval of the Army Corps of Engineers.
Okay, but it'll be on the private property of the golf course?
Correct. Yeah. That's correct, yeah.
When do you go up for re-election?
Well, I guess it's in November, so yeah, this November, yeah. So, but let's not make this. Sure.
and Nick and I know the answer, but just for the room, what's going on with I see the parking lot behind Angela Mitzi's, fenced off.
That was a softball question, Tom. But okay, so yeah, so as Mr. Huffman noted, the Fox block is under construction. So the first piece to that puzzle was the parking structure, and this was another one that was sort of complicated by decades-old redevelopment agreements through the redevelopment agency. But really, the first thing that needed to happen there was for this parking structure to be built, and Almquist Development, who was the owner who acquired basically the Angela Vince's property, that acquired sort of that parcel to the north of, I believe it's Ellis Lane, right? Is it Ellis? Ellis, right? So they acquired both of those properties, and they're now under construction on the parking lot, or excuse me, the parking structure. But they expect to be done by, I think, what is it, mid-2026, correct? With the entire project. So it's coming up, and Mr. Huffman will be happy to show you the improved bathrooms at the Fox the Memorial Day weekend, right? Yeah. So, any other questions? Comments, thoughts, please?
I'll say I appreciate, I know in the Maple Valencia corner, our school community really brought the attention of a really dangerous intersection, and the city was very responsive. We now have a left-hand turn.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I know the kids at Richmond Elementary also did an audit of the community to look at everything from uneven sidewalks to the need for lights to more stop signs and crossing guards. It's really great to see the responsiveness when kids get engaged as advocates for their community. I've also been hearing a lot from students in the Gilbert area, VP, Valencia Park area, that there's a lot of concerns around lack of lighting, safe routes to school, and some of that is community violence that they're experiencing on the way to and from school. I wonder if you could talk more about plans for looking at safe routes for kids and families that the city could do to help increase the safety for our students.
Sure. So I will say there are a number of different resources available, both kind of the city through traffic and engineering, but then also through the police department as pertains to public safety. So typically when the police department gets involved in a situation like that, and they're able to do this for business owners, for private property owners, and also for schools, where they can actually go out, and it's called I think the acronym that they use is CPTED, which is Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design. And so they'll actually go out and they'll look at lighting, they'll look at landscaping, they'll look at like roads and and streets to figure out, hey, what alternatives can be explored to help make a condition more safe. But then alternatively, they can also hey, point things out or try to reroute and get help in other avenues at the city. So I think that's something to explore. But the other thing is, I will say, the city is pretty responsive in terms of working with other. I think with stakeholders, a lot of times. So, it doesn't oftentimes, I'm sometimes amazed. I'm always happy to help, but I'm sometimes amazed at when I get a contact for the first time about an issue and I reach out to city staff and say, hey, did you get this? And they say, no. Kind of surprising sometimes that somebody would think to reach out to a council member about that. But again, I'm always happy to help as well, because we are very responsive and can help to work together in that sense. Like similar to what was the Who's in Your Crosswalk campaign. I know that was something that we had started, a little over a year ago when, what's her name? Lori Bruno was still, was still there. So, but those are things, and I think there's always opportunities for us to work together. And we're always looking for those opportunities too. So if you see an issue, I would say, let us know and we can go work on it. Please.
Saskia Kennedy, Fullerton, and I wanted to know if, I know we put in a lot of money to HOPE, the homeless outreach, proactive engagement up on by St. Jude's. We put a couple million into that infrastructure and the hiring of people, but it's only got daytime hours for homeless people. The police officers, liaisons don't work in the evenings. The police officers that are on, that don't seem to have enough quality training to deal with homeless people or enough of the resources to get them into help. Is the city planning or looking forward to doing anything that will alleviate that or meet that need?
Yeah, actually, that's a great question, and I would say absolutely. I think the city has put a lot of effort, the city's put a lot of money, and it's not just the city, there's county funds, there's state funds, and really a whole host of funding that has gone into all of those programs. I think the reality is you make the investment, and then you kind of, you work on like figuring out, okay, well, how is this working? What are the results? And that's, I think, really the glaring, shortcoming is that, hey, there's limited after hours resources, right? And so those are things that the city manager I know is tasked with trying to report back on, hey, what can we do to kind of fill this stopgap here where we're having issues? So yeah, it's definitely a concern. Because I think in large part, I think some of the other efforts that have been undertaken have been somewhat successful. And not just from, kind of the daytime response where, we're able to get people, where we are able to get people shelter beds or access to shelter beds or other help and things that they need. I mean, I always, when I'm talking to the police officers, I hear the stories firsthand about how they're, taking folks to, the Social Security office to get a copy of a Social Security card, trying to go get a copy of a driver's license so they can get access to benefits or other things that they need. And so, I think the reality is it's a significant problem that faces us, not just here in Fullerton, but really across the county, across the state. I mean, across the United States, really. And so, we're just trying to do our best given the resources that we have. Father Dennis didn't like that answer. I saw that.
I just thought it's not a bad answer,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, it really is something that an ER would not close at 5, and that's kind of what this is. But also, honestly, I do know that it's not just Fullerton, it's the county. But really, if you're homeless and it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday, you're doomed until without the congregations, and it's not just us, but other places here who put up people and so forth over the weekend. But there's nothing for them then. And there's nothing for them if it's 6 o'clock in the evening and they need help. That's the issue. But I mean, that's not just you. Honestly, it's the entire county.
Actually, Father Dennis, I'm going to kind of use this as an opportunity to plug the discussion we had a few weeks ago with respect to, kind of the really building housing on, church land or surplus church land, right? I mean, that was something that we discussed that I think is, there's going to be an opportunity there with respect to some changes in state law where, churches are actually choosing to, partner with, basically nonprofit or other developers to build affordable housing on church grounds. And, we had kind of talked about that as, seeing what opportunities might be available. Because I think that is, in some churches I know have been a little more active. I know the Episcopal Church has been quite active, but I think those are just opportunities to discuss because, of course, that's part of it as well.
And I would say, we are talking with the diocese of moving something like that forward. So
I think this is a great discussion, and we're going to continue that discussion. You can stay up here for a second, because I do also want to acknowledge that we do have some new staff for the city, and I'm so grateful for them. And I think Christian is here. So, you want to just introduce yourself, Christian?
You want?
Yeah, come on up. Come up there.
All right, good afternoon. Sorry my voice is a little bit on the lower end, but my name is Christian Hernandez. I'm the Parks and Recreation Manager here with the City of Fullerton. My office is located at City Hall. You'll mostly see me a lot at our special events, our markets, all the outdoor activities, parks and trails. But aside from that, just feel free to stop by. We're, like our Mayor Dunlap said, we're very responsive. We work for the community. We work for the residents of Fullerton. If you have any questions at any time, whether it's small, how do I get a park rental, to how do I rent the plaza for a special event, feel free to come stop on by. I'll share my contact through the collaborative. I'm looking forward to partnerships throughout, the Hunt Library is opening up this Saturday, and a lot of activities at the Hunt Library, and leading to our 4th of July downtown. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities for your organizations to be represented at our events. And we have the market every Thursday night for the next 20 weeks. So, yeah, so feel free, even if you, hey, can I get a pop-up on this day? Stop on by, I'm totally on board with that. The more, the merrier, and it's just creating a good atmosphere for everybody involved. So nice, this is my second official meeting. So I've been here a month now, but feel free to stop on by, say hello, and I'm happy to meet you.
Nothing else for me unless there's any other questions or comments. And I'll be here till the end, so if anybody has any questions, happy to answer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we just have a really quick, just an update on some of the items that we're doing in the city. So we're gonna actually ask Amy to come up here. She's gonna share, if you're not familiar with the collaborative, there are 4 primary areas that we focus on in the city. Around homelessness being one of them, which is our discussion was today. We also look at next gen, our early, our at-risk youth, formerly at-risk youth, our early childhood, and our health and wellness. So we also are going to talk about our upcoming and our new foundation. So go ahead.
Hi, my name is Amy Choi Wan, and I will be talking about 2 different subcommittee reports. First one is Next Gen, and we are working on getting youth committee together. We've been doing some survey with over about 15 youth organizations, and at the last week's city council meeting, we had 2 excellent female students coming to speak and in support of the youth committee formation. So there was a resolution to create a youth commission, but what we're proposing is that we're creating a more inclusive committee so that we can hear from the youth. And when Mayor Dunlap mentioned how he used to go to the council meeting with his father and kind of learn about how the city goes, and Ruthie was talking about the collaboration between the students and the city to make the decision on how to make the school surroundings more safe. We want that to happen more. And we're hoping that something like that can happen during the youth committee meeting. So we're moving forward. We got until June to talk more about our plan with the city members, the committee staff members, and we're gonna come back and advocate for that in June. And then second one is the collaborative board approved the addition of the Fullerton Community Foundation Committee with a formal charter. So there are 2 co-chairs. I'll be one of the co-chairs, and then Victoria Torres, how should I say, resident? Yes. The other co-chairs, and Jay Williams will be a representative from our board. And we'll get also liaisons from all the 4 different subcommittees. And our first year task is to update the website to accommodate a calendar of nonprofit and city events and a list of nonprofits in Fullerton. So it'll be a one-stop shop where we can all find out what's happening. Hopefully we don't plan 2 galas on the same day, things like that, or 2 big events happening on the same day. And to begin a stewardship plan to increase charitable giving. We don't want this to be a competition to your organization. We'll be kind of like making sure that people know about it, more people know about it, so that they can come and donate to your organizations in the city. We already have a great success story. A business in Fullerton wanted to donate to our city's parks and recreation, but they had to give it to 501c3, and that's where Fullerton Community Foundation comes in. So the city reached out to us and to accept the donation on their behalf. So we're very excited about it, and we'll keep you updated, and that's about it. Thank you.
First, I want to thank Mayor Dunlap. That was a wonderful presentation. Thank you so much. My name is Lisa McFerrin. I'm the Director of Executive Communications at Cal State Fullerton, and I am co-chair of the Homelessness Subcommittee with Kelly Fritzl in the back. We're really getting restarted tomorrow, so that committee is going to meet monthly, the second Tuesday of the month at 1:30. So it's been a while since we've really gotten together and figured out the direction of the committee. So if this is a topic that's of interest to you, I encourage you to come. We really need to decide where we want to go. It's still a very big, important issue in our community, and we have a lot of wonderful organizations that are contributing. So how can the collaborative contribute as well? Thank you.
Coming up, we do have our early childhood. I do not have the date with me on my brain right now, but if you're interested in that capacity, I will be sending that information out to the members as well.
Good afternoon, everyone. Peter Hernandez with Providence St. Jude Medical Center. I'm a community services manager with the hospital, and I co-chair the health and wellness subcommittee with Debbie. So just as a reminder, at the end of April, we will be finalizing our quarterly health and wellness challenge. So if you haven't already registered for that challenge, which as a reminder is our New Year, New Me challenge, we're very much focused on just supporting community members with personalized health and wellness goals. And we are giving the top participant a $100 gift card. So, and also if you're interested in participating in any of the community events that we've coordinated, you can always visit our social media accounts at Move More Eat Healthy, and we offer great incentives to support your health and wellness goals, whatever they may be. And then our next meeting will be on April 24th, virtually from 12:30 to 1:30. If you're interested in participating, please reach out to us. And then did you want to talk about the mental health?
Yeah, on May 16th, mark your calendar. We have partnered with Councilmember Montezar, and he and I and an organization that is focusing on mental health. We will be able to work and have a town hall meeting on May 16th. And so it'll be actually in the community room as well. So please mark your calendar for that. Anything else?
Join us at our next meeting.
Yes, join us at our next collaborative meeting is actually the second Monday of each month. Our next meeting actually is going to have individuals from 211 and also from we're going to have a mini presentation on the condition of children and a little mini report as well. So before we leave, we have 2 minutes left. We do have members, and we love our members. If you have any events and you want to share that, I do have a long cord here. Hi,
I'm Jennifer Barron of Lions Club. We were for 13 years, and we do have our upcoming Fullerton Lions Golf Putting Tournament this Sunday, April 14th, 1 o'clock. Check-in, 138 shotgun, and there's a tremendous amount of support from Fullerton businesses. Roberta's just handed the gift cards. We have a Tiki, Black Bear Diner, Dr. Jeffrey Cacao, who's our wonderful member too, $169 comprehensive eye exam, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's been work and planning for 3 months. Marisol's here, Walt just left, and then Marlene president. So 85 years in Fullerton Lions Club. So we haven't been around that long, but
fantastic. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Christina Moreno from Cal State Fullerton. And I sent out a reminder to a lot of the community partners regarding summer internships. So if anybody is ready to hire some summer interns, I have a flyer on the table over there. So just a reminder, just post your positions.
And shout out to Cal State Fullerton. We have some students here. They're trying to connect with all the nonprofits, so that's their job today. So be nice to them. Anyone else?
We have a chess tournament on Friday, April 26th. We need volunteers as monitors. So if you're not familiar with chess, you don't have to have experience, but we do need monitors basically just to kind of look over the students K through 12, and that's Friday, April 26th. So if you guys want to volunteer, especially Kelsey, there's a flyer up in the front.
Thank you. Todd.
This is just a day of music reminder. Anybody who wants to be a venue or host a location in the city somewhere, downtown, etc., the deadline to commit and give us your name is April 19th. Because I have to give this man, Christian, a permit by the 21st. So just a reminder, and it doesn't have to be at your location. If you want to say your organization wants to host a concert in Hillcrest Park, you could do that. And Christian is team will be happy to tell you how to do that. So don't think it has to be in your location, but you can host it in one of the many fabulous locations Fullerton has. So April 19th.
June 21st, always.
Always, yes.
Summer solstice.
Fantastic. I want to once again thank Mayor Dunlap for taking the time today. He is still here hanging out for you, so we really appreciate you. And join us next month, and we look forward to seeing you. Take care. Today.
Thank you.